Hi everyone, today we are going to be tackling a really tricky subject when it comes to camper vans. How are you going to pay for it? Right then, so this doesn't get talked about very much on YouTube and in general conversation because everyone feels a bit of a taboo subject because let's be honest, camper vans are really expensive. You know, there's no way of getting away from that. Even if you're buying a van, converting it yourself and then getting out there, all of that adds up as you go through the build. It is expensive. If you look at some of the conversions, again, you can pay, you know, thousands and thousands for a conversion, and obviously you then have things like the Volkswagen California, you have the Mercedes-Benz Marco Polo, Ford Nugget, etc., and they are super expensive as well. So whichever way you look at it, you're going to be spending a lot of money, and we thought it would be helpful just to go through the thoughts that we had about A, how you can finance one, and B, i.e. where do you get the money from, and B, some affordability things as well. So we thought it'd be quite helpful. All of these things have gone through our minds at a period in time, and hopefully it might give you some ideas if you're thinking about how you can afford one. So yeah, we'll work through it.
So hence why we're both dressed in black. Serious subject.
Serious subject.
Quite depressing.
Should have my glasses on as well, really, seeing as it's a serious subject.
But I think it's really, really important to stress that we're not financial advisors. We are not advising you about anything here. We're just literally going through the options.
So this is our thoughts for our consumption.
Yeah.
Just sharing it with you on video, that's all. We are not IFAs.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Definitely not. So everyone is different. Everyone has different circumstances. And we absolutely recognise that. So caveats out the way. Yep. Let's crack on then. So,
okay, let's go. So first one, no brainer, save up now.
Or use savings.
Or use savings. Yeah. Biggest problem there is, as you'll have seen, that Volkswagen seem to, well, when we're talking about a Cali, seem to increase their prices at least twice a year by somewhere in the region of 4% at a time. So depending on how well you can save, how much you can save, what kind of interest rate or investment return or anything like that you can get on your savings, you may well find that the price of what you're after just escalates.
Well, and it also changes after you've ordered, because there's a lot of people waiting 12 plus months now for, say, a California in build because of supply of vans, and actually you put your order down at a certain price, and historically that would have been the price that you paid, whereas now Volkswagen, I think it was back in November, December time, decided that they weren't going to guarantee that anymore, considering the supply chain issues. So now you can place an order at one price, and then when your van actually gets delivered, you can choose whether you're taking it or not, because the price might have gone up. So yeah, really tricky, especially if you're trying to save. So second one on our list then, in terms of financing, is PCP. Good old personal contract plan. Super popular in this country. If you don't know what PCP is, just Google PCP, car PCP, and it'll explain it to you. But it's effectively where you take the whole cost of the vehicle, you finance the whole cost of the vehicle, but you actually only pay for a proportion of it. And the reason that you only pay for a proportion of it is because there's a guaranteed future value which the vehicle has at the end of that term, which means that when you've run your term through, or partway through, you effectively can give the van back, assuming you've not gone over the mileage and everything else, otherwise the excess mileage to pay, and cared for it really well. Or you can sell it, and obviously yourself privately, and then obviously that may or may not pay off that balloon figure at the end. So definitely worth having a look at PCP. Lots of things to consider with PCP, like how much deposit you're putting in, how many miles you're looking to do. You know, if you pick any options with PCP as well, it's good to know that generally speaking, when you add options, they don't generally increase the guaranteed future value on the finance. So if you want a rough rule of thumb about how much something's going to add to your PCP from an options point of view, if you're adding, say, £1,000 option and you're doing a 3-year PCP, then take the £1,000, divide it by 36, because that's how many months is in 3 years, and then that will tell you how much a month extra it's going to be, because you generally have to pay for the cost of your options in full over the term of your PCP that you have. What that does mean, though, is that if you've got a van with loads of options on from new, when you get to your guaranteed future value, you'll probably find that the market value of your van is much higher than the guaranteed future value, because actually people like vans with lots of accessories. They like them with lots of factory options and things. If you've got things like two-tone paint, nice 18-inch wheels, different interior, all that kind of stuff, people go hunting for those vans. So A, it's more desirable and might add a bit of value to your van too. Like I said, deposit for PCP plays a really big part in how much the monthly payments are going to be for a PCP as well. So there's lots of online calculators for that. I might even do a video about how you can do a bit of a ready reckoner yourself on some of that stuff in a future video as well.
Can you tell he basically loves buying different vehicles? So he's been through this cycle many times. I think what we've realised when it comes to PCP is that when you're buying a car, typically you can pretty much kiss goodbye to the deposit that you put in. Don't have any kind of thoughts that you'll get it back. If you do, it's a bonus, but go into it with your eyes open wide that probably that deposit is gone. So the best thing to do is to get the guaranteed future value as low as you possibly can, the deposit you put in as low as you possibly can, and then hopefully and then get a decent interest rate and get your payments as low as they possibly can is the balance to strike.
There's lots of variables, aren't there? And we should say that camper vans, we've owned loads of different cars and vans over the different years, and actually camper vans tend to hold their value regardless of what type of van. So I'm not just talking about Californias, I'm talking about camper vans in general, seem to hold their value extremely well. So do bear that in mind too. Right. What have we got next?
Straight up, hire purchase. So the traditional thing that used to be the only way really of buying a vehicle.
Before things got too expensive for hire
apart
purchase.
From cash. Until things got too expensive for hire purchase. So the very simple X amount of money, however many thousands of pounds it is to buy your California, less whatever deposit you're putting in. Plus the interest. Spread it out over anything up to probably 5, maybe 7 years at a push. We've seen it occasionally.
I think Volkswagen actually have got a product now, or Volkswagen Finance got a product for Californias, which goes, I think it's either 8 or 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Just so it makes the payments half reasonable, because let's be honest, if you're financing a £80,000 California and you're doing it on straight HP, even if you put a 10 grand deposit in, you're still financing £70,000 over 5 years. The maths are, well,
mind-blowing,
eye-watering,
boggling.
It's another good option though. Definitely talk to Volkswagen Financial Services, Black Horse. There's loads of people who do kind of longer terms if you were wanting to do that, and some people might have a reason to do that in particular.
If you've got a big amount of money to put in, it might make a lot more sense than doing something like a PCP as well, because you own the van essentially right from the word go, whereas going back to the PCP option, trying to get out of those contracts a little bit earlier can be a little bit more tricky.
More mileage dependent things as well. Which brings us on nicely onto having it on a lease. So you might want to consider a lease, a personal lease, and that's different to a personal contract plan. So a lease is where you say you will commit to have a vehicle for an amount of months, so 36 months, 48 months, and there is no future value or anything like that involved. There will be a deposit of an amount of payments, so they'll say it will be a 3 plus 36 or a 6 plus 48, and what that means is 6 months worth of monthly payments as your upfront payment first, and then you pay the monthly payments after that. And the reason that's different to PCP, still mileage based, so you have to say how many miles you're going to do. You do not have an option to purchase it at the end of that term. You have to give it back, and you also can't get out of it halfway through without effectively paying for all of the remaining months. So when you're working that out, it's really important to know that you're going to keep it for that period. What quite a lot of people tend to do if they're going to have a look at a lease is they might have cash in the bank. So you might have, say, 15 grand that you were going to spend on something, and you know that the lease cost is 5 grand a year. So your total cost of having that vehicle for the 3 years, if you took it on a 3-year lease, would be 15 grand. And instead of spending the 15 grand in cash straight out on a PCP or some other kind of finance product,
plus those monthly payments,
plus the monthly payments, they know that they're going to spend the 15 grand over the 3 years on the lease, and that means you've got more opportunity to have interest on your money in the bank, versus the lease, obviously, versus paying it out all in one go as a deposit or something like that. So leases can work. They can also work if you've got a different income stream, which you're then kind of recycling back out into a lease. And we'll come on to that a bit later on.
I think probably the easiest way to think about a lease is a rental agreement.
It's a rental, yeah.
That you can't get out of,
yeah,
basically without substantial amount of money.
The penalty of getting out of it early is all of the payments you've got left, so you might as well keep using it.
Yeah. So think carefully.
Unless you're bankrupt and all that kind of stuff, but we're not going into that.
No. I think leases as well, you typically can end up with ones where you have a lot more rolled into it. So things like tax, maintenance, tyres, all of those kind of things as well. Whereas PCP
don't tend to do that. They tend to be bolt-on products.
Yeah, you can buy warranties and buy service packages and things like that come with it. But leases, you just upfront, what plan do I want this on, and that's it basically for the 3 or 4 years or however long it is that you enter into it.
Right. Next we have
mortgage equity release. So this is probably,
if you're lucky enough to have a mortgage.
Well, lucky enough to own a property with enough equity within it to be able to do some kind of an equity release. So this then links back into those previous 2-3 things that we've been thinking about. So you get yourself a chunk of money out of your mortgage or out of your house, and then you either go down the fair enough, I've got enough cash now to just buy one outright, it's a deposit for a PCP, or it's essentially enough to fund a lease. For
and again,
particular amount of time.
Go back to the disclaimer at the start. We're not IFAs. Everyone will be individual. We recognise that some of you will be renting. It's not an option for you. It's everything is very individual when it comes to finance.
And I suppose it's when you're looking at how to get that deposit, essentially, or however you're going to fund it, or buy it outright. And obviously considerations about children and inheritances and all of that kind of stuff comes into consideration as well. But it's
don't do anything daft.
Yeah, but it's another way of securing a good chunk of cash, upfront cash, financing it obviously probably over a much longer period of time, depending on how much longer you've got left on your mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Potentially at a lower interest rate than you would end up paying on a PCP or HP kind of deal, where the APRs might be a little bit more expensive. But it's another way of thinking about it.
It is.
Basically.
So that then takes on to another option, which again, very individual. So you could ask someone to give you a hand, which is always good.
You're happy to have a wealthy friend.
And if you've got those kind of friends, please do let us know in the comments below, or send us an email, because we'd like to meet them too. Or that might turn into some kind of inheritance. And again, very individual circumstances, we recognise that. But we try to have a bit of a think about the life events that tend to give people an opportunity to have some money which they wouldn't have had before. And inheritance is one of those life opportunities that some people are fortunate enough to have, or unfortunate, depending on which way you look at it. But we recognise it's a very individual thing. And
sometimes, when it comes to inheritance, I know of some friends who have had those discussions with their parents, and their parents would much rather see them enjoy the money right now, rather than leave it to a point where they just know that they're giving them some money and they're not around to see them enjoy it.
So here's a question for you then. Yeah. Would you lend our Callie to your mum and dad?
I think I probably would, actually, if they wanted to. I wouldn't lend it to No, not his mum and dad. Crikey.
There's reasons for that, but we won't go into that on this video.
My mum and dad, yes, they're very, very careful and really, really look after everything. I don't think they're the camping kind of types, though. They quite like hotels.
They used to go caravanning.
They used to go caravanning.
I'm not sure they'd be able to survive in a space this small for more than about 2 hours.
No, between the two of them, they need separate rooms.
Both of our sets of parents do watch these videos, so we're probably not going to be invited around for dinner for a while, are we? So let's move on.
Swiftly.
Right, and then the last on the kind of financing routes is
early pension release. And again, this comes with a massive be careful,
seek
we're
advice,
not advising,
seek personal advice.
You need to really, really carefully think about this. But there are options now to be able to take cash out of your pension at certain points. I think at the moment it's 55 years old, but it's going up to being 57 years old from 2028. So if you've
got a pension, of course.
If you've got a pension.
And it's one that you're able to access it.
B, if it's one that you can access at that kind of an age. C, if it makes sense to do so. And that's the biggest kind of caveat, get advice.
I remember when the laws changed around this and there was so much talk about Lamborghini. I don't know why.
For our reason.
No, it was Lamborghini.
It's just
Lamborghini. I don't know why, but Sky, BBC, everybody talked about people buying Lamborghinis. And obviously somebody somewhere bought a Lamborghini and that was it. That was the whole story then.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Buy a campervan instead if you're going to do that.
It's a better investment.
It's a much better investment. It'll depreciate a lot less. You'll have much more fun in it.
Well, that's debatable, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. You can have plenty of fun in a campervan that you can't have in a Lamborghini. It's
true.
that cabin's far too small to have fun in.
Yeah.
Right. So just finishing up then, there's a few kind of affordability things that we thought of as well. And these aren't kind of financing things, but they're associated.
To how to help you think about
helps you think
if you've
what you could do,
what route and you've decided on, and then you met with potentially quite a substantial monthly payment.
Yeah, so you might already be paying out on a car that you use as a family car. Now the thing to think about there is, could you replace that family car with a California? I should say California, should I? Or campervan, because as long as you pick carefully, you can have 4 or 5 seats in a campervan, all belted, legal, moving people around, so there should be no problem with that. It may or may not fit in with what you need as a family car.
Things to consider can quite often be the kind of places that you end up parking.
Yeah, with the height
restrictions and things like that.
Stuff. Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, taking kids to football matches and all that kind of stuff, who doesn't want to come back to a car with a kitchen in it?
Exactly right. And a heater.
And a heater.
So if you're already spending out £400 a month, £500 a month, £300 a month on a family car, could you, if you wanted a campervan, could you stretch to that extra £100 more, £200 more, and think about whether that could get you into a campervan? And would that manage and deal with what you want? So that's one option. Next we've got,
if you're lucky enough to have one, a company car, could you give it back and maybe have a cash option instead from your employer, and then essentially use your campervan as your family car, or in lieu of your company car? Yeah,
we insure our campervan with Comfort Insurance at the moment, and they cover it for business. So Sarah sometimes takes it to work, I sometimes take it to work. It fits in just like any other family car. So yeah, there's no reason. And actually, mobile office.
But you say it fits in like a family car. The only downside is that parking is fairly limited at my work, so I spend about an hour driving loops and loops and loops around the
You're
car
going to get
park,
told off about that
trying
soon.
to decide on which parking space to choose, so I'm at least at risk of any door dents.
Because I tell you what, if you ever bring this home with door dents in,
I'm dead. I'm absolutely dead if I bring it home with any door dents. I think I'd
be mortified.
I'd just go and get on a train somewhere, to be honest, and just disappear.
Right. So finally, then, we did wonder whether there is an option to fund a campervan a different way, by sorting out some extra income to pay for it. So effectively, it ends up being cost neutral. Now,
that's quite a tall order.
It's quite a tall order because they're big, expensive things, aren't they? But the things that we thought about just off the top of our heads was Campervan Rental. So if you bought a campervan knowing you were going to rent it out to other people, you might pick your options a little bit differently. You might do things in a certain way. But actually, there's a couple of websites which have started up which allow individuals to be able to rent their campervans out to people and cover the insurance and all of those kind of things. I don't know if you've seen those yet.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, they look really good. It's a bit like Airbnb for campervans. Looks really interesting. And if you went in eyes wide open, buying a campervan, knowing that you were going to do that, I think you'd have a certain type of attachment to your campervan which might be different if you were buying one, you used it yourself and then thought, I could really do with renting this out. I think if we wanted to do that with ours, that would feel mentally quite difficult because we haven't bought it in the mind of renting it out. I think if you're buying one knowing that the fact that you've got it is being paid for by other people renting it out and then you get to use it as well, then that's a whole different mental process, isn't it? It's good because you're getting a free campervan effectively if you can make the numbers work. And then finally, the other way is you do something like this and you make it more successful than us, because I can tell you now, we do not earn anywhere near enough money out of YouTube to be able to fund our California.
No.
No way. So if anyone's thinking we do this because it's what keeps the van on the road, absolutely not. I spend all of it on camera gear. And there's nowhere near enough to be able to fund a California. So if you want to do it that way, but by all means, give it a go. Give it a go. If you want any advice on setting up a YouTube channel, probably don't ask me or Sarah. But if you did want to drop us a line, we're more than happy to have that conversation.
Yeah.
But honestly,
it's very hard work if you want to earn some money out of it. So don't get any kind of thoughts that, just get your iPhone on a tripod and you can start raking in thousands.
You need hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And then you might be starting to get somewhere close. But honestly,
but it's a good idea.
Yeah,
it's a good idea. Give it a go.
If you can start a YouTube channel about something else other than campervans and it's super successful, and then you buy a campervan, maybe you're an IFA. And you could do a much better version of this, which would go viral, and then there's your campervan.
Yeah.
So let us know.
You need to stop giving them ideas, Will.
So let us know in the comments below if you're going to start a YouTube channel, and if you are, what it's going to be on and why it's going to go viral. We'd love to know, because we'll definitely follow you.
I thought you were going to say we'll nick that idea and run with it.
No, not at all. Not at all. Just before we go then, so we've got some, you probably saw on our social media, we've had a massive box of new stuff arrive from Campervan Bits, so big thank you to them. We hope you're going to enjoy looking at those few bits and pieces that we've got. We're going to enjoy testing them. I think we're going to go somewhere next weekend, aren't we? Do a pub stopover or find somewhere, a field, I don't know, anywhere random. And then we're going to crack on with that. And we hope this kind of thing is useful for you, what you enjoy. If it is, please like this video, please subscribe to our channel. It does help us recognise that we're doing some good for you.
Doesn't really help us earn a huge amount of money.
No, but please do subscribe, because it will notify you when we put new videos up. So things like those products we're going to review, when those videos go live, you'll get a little notification saying that they're live, and then you can choose to watch it or not, depending on if you're interested. So we love having you along for these kind of chats. It's been a while since we've done one together. I really love doing these kind of videos. I also think we need to do another live stream soon, because I think there's going to be loads of questions. You don't like live streams. I love live streams.
Daunting.
It's the adrenaline rush of not knowing what questions come in next.
Daunting.
So on that note, we'll see you again soon for some more California time.